Hi guys. Today's story is honestly one of the most shocking ones I have ever come across. Imagine going into an event dressed beautifully with your husband, only for him to humiliate you in front of everyone. Not just embarrass you. I'm talking about pouring dirty water on you and calling you a loser in front of everyone. What he didn't know and what nobody in that knew was that the wife secretly owned the company that his entire family worked for. So sit down, relax, and find out what is about to unfold. Thank you.
The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor. Silence swallowed the room. 300 people in their finest clothes, diamonds catching light, perfume thick enough to choke on, all stared at one woman. Raina stood center stage at the Crystal Heights Grand Ballroom, her plain gray dress now soaked with what looked like dirty dishwater. It dripped from her hair, pooled at her feet. Her husband, Colton, stood 5 feet away, holding the empty bucket, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "That's where you belong," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "In the dirt. With the rest of the trash." His mother, Beverly, cackled from the front table. His sister, Tenley, recorded it on her phone. His mistress, Sloane, dripping in red silk and arrogance, blew him a kiss. But Raina didn't cry. She didn't scream. She pulled her phone from her purse, tapped twice, and said 3 words that made the entire room go cold. "Lock it down." Within seconds, security surrounded Colton. The CEO of Grandstone Industries, the very company that employed every single person in his family, walked onto the stage. And he bowed to Raina. Before we continue, the narrator's voice cuts in. Ask yourself this: have you ever been underestimated? Ever been treated like you were nothing, when you were actually everything? Drop a comment below. Because what's about to unfold will make you rethink every person you've ever ignored. And hey, smash that like button if you're ready for the most satisfying revenge story you'll hear all year. Trust me, you'll want to stay till the end. Raina met Colton at a coffee shop in downtown Greenwich, Connecticut, one of those places where the rich pretend to be humble by ordering $5 lattes. She worked 2 jobs back then, bookkeeper by day, night janitor at a corporate building by night. She wore her hair in a bun, glasses too big for her face, clothes from thrift stores that smelled faintly of lavender and old fabric. Colton was different then. Or at least, he pretended to be. He complimented her smile. Said she had kind eyes. Bought her coffee 3 days in a row until she finally said yes to dinner. He drove a leased BMW and worked in sales at Grandstone Industries, a tech and real estate empire that owned half the commercial properties in Connecticut and neighboring states. He didn't know that Raina's late father had built that empire. He didn't know she'd inherited it all when he died 2 years prior, but kept it secret per his will's conditions. She had to prove herself capable, behind the scenes, before taking public control at age 30. She was 27 when she met Colton. She thought, maybe, she could have a normal life. Maybe someone could love her for her, not her money. She was wrong. The wedding was small. Colton insisted on it. No need to waste money, he said. His family came, all 12 of them. His mother, Beverly, worked in human resources at Grandstone. His father, Dax, was a regional manager. His sister, Tenley, was in marketing. His brothers, Quillen and Jet, were in logistics and sales. They all lived off Grandstone paychecks. Company cars. Company insurance. Company holiday bonuses. And none of them liked Raina. "She's plain," Beverly whispered at the reception, loud enough for Raina to hear. "What does he see in her?" "Probably feels sorry for her," Tenley added, sipping champagne. "She looks like she shops at garage sales." Raina said nothing. She smiled. Served them cake. Watched Colton laugh with his family, never once defending her. That night, in their new apartment, paid for with money Raina quietly transferred from a hidden account, Colton rolled over in bed and said, "You're lucky, you know. A girl like you doesn't usually get a guy like me." Raina stared at the ceiling. She didn't sleep. Her name was Sloane. Tall, blonde, worked in Grandstone's PR department. She had the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. Raina found out about the affair the old-fashioned way: lipstick on a collar, perfume that wasn't hers, late nights that became early mornings. When she confronted Colton, he didn't even deny it. "So what?" he said, shrugging. "You think you're enough for me? Look at you. You dress like a librarian. You work those embarrassing jobs. Sloane is," he paused. "She's someone I can be proud of." Raina felt something crack inside her. Not her heart. Something deeper. Something that couldn't be fixed. "Do you want a divorce?" she asked quietly. He laughed. "And give up this rent-free life? No thanks. You're useful, Raina. You keep things running. But don't expect me to pretend you're special." She nodded. And went back to her embarrassing jobs. But late at night, when Colton was out with Sloane, Raina sat in her hidden office, a storage unit she rented under a fake name, and ran Grandstone Industries. She signed deals worth millions. Approved promotions. Fired toxic managers. Built new properties. The company flourished under her silent hand. And Colton's family? They thrived because of her. They just didn't know it. The annual Grandstone Gala was the event of the year. Black tie. Crystal chandeliers. A live orchestra. It was where promotions were announced, awards given, egos fed. Colton's family had been preening for weeks. "I'm getting senior manager this year," Beverly bragged at Sunday dinner. "I can feel it." "I heard they're giving out bonuses," Quillen said. "Maybe I'll finally get that lake house." Tanley smirked at Raina. "Too bad you can't come, Raina." "Oh wait, you're not important enough to be invited." But Colton turned to her, grinning. "Actually, she is coming." Everyone froze. "Why?" Dax asked. Colton's grin widened. "Because I want everyone to see what I'm stuck with." Raina felt the room tilt. Sloane, sitting beside Colton, giggled. "Oh, this is going to be fun." Raina wore a simple gray dress. No jewelry. No makeup. She looked exactly how Colton wanted her to look, invisible. The ballroom was breathtaking. Ice sculptures. Rose centerpieces. A champagne tower that sparkled under the lights. Colton's family held court at the VIP table. Beverly wore emerald. Tanley wore gold. Sloane wore red so bright it screamed for attention. And Raina? She sat at the back, alone. Until the speeches began. The CEO, a man named Harland Cross, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, the kind of man who missed nothing, stepped onto the stage. "Tonight," he said, "we celebrate Grandstone's most successful year in history." Applause erupted. And we owe it all to one person. The room buzzed with speculation. Beverly sat up straighter. "It's got to be me." Quillen adjusted his tie. "Definitely regional sales." But Harlan's eyes scanned the room and landed on Raina. "Would our true leader please come forward?" Silence. Colton frowned. "What's he talking about?" Raina didn't move. Harlan smiled. "Ms. Raina Fairchild. Please. Join me." The room erupted in confused whispers. Colton stood. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" But Raina was already walking toward the stage. Slowly. Calmly. Every eye on her. And when she reached the microphone, she looked out at the sea of faces, at Colton, at his family, at Sloane, and she smiled. "Good evening," she said softly. "I think it's time we cleared up a misunderstanding. My name is Raina Fairchild," she continued. "Daughter of Dominic Fairchild. founder of Grandstone Industries. The room went silent. When my father passed 3 years ago, he left the company to me. But he made one condition: I had to prove I could run it quietly, effectively, for 3 years before taking public control at age 30. She paused. I turned 30 last week. Beverly's face went white. Every promotion, every bonus, every property deal, every single success this company has had in the last 3 years, came from my decisions. Colton stood frozen. And every person in this room? Your jobs, your homes, your cars, your children's schools, they exist because I allowed it. Tenley dropped her phone. Raina's voice grew stronger. But tonight, I was reminded of something important. She looked directly at Colton. Some people don't deserve the mercy I've given them. Colton's mouth opened. Closed. Raina. 3 years, she said. 3 years I endured. Insults. Cheating. Humiliation. I stayed quiet because I thought, maybe, you'd change. Maybe you'd see me. Her voice cracked, just once. But you never did. She turned to Harland. Effective immediately, Colton Ryder is terminated. Gasps exploded across the room. Beverly Ryder, terminated. Tenley Ryder, terminated. Quillen, Jet, Dax, all terminated. Colton lunged forward. You can't. Security grabbed him. Company cars will be repossessed. Company housing leases voided. Pensions frozen pending investigation of misconduct. Beverly screamed. You can't do this. Raina's smile was ice. I just did. She looked at Sloane, trembling in her red dress. And you, Ms. River? Consider your PR career over. I'll make sure every firm in this state knows exactly who you are. Sloane burst into tears. The room sat in stunned silence as security escorted Colton and his family out. Their shouts echoed down the hallway. And Raina? She stood on that stage, soaked in dirty water, and felt lighter than she had in years. Still think appearances tell the whole story? The narrator asks. The morning after the gala, Connecticut woke up to headlines. Secret heiress revealed, Raina Fairchild takes control of Grandstone Industries. Tech mogul's daughter exposes abusive husband, fires entire family. From janitor to CEO, the truth behind Grandstone's success. Raina sat in her real office now, 52nd floor, corner view, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Greenwich Harbor. She sipped black coffee and watched her phone explode with notifications. News outlets wanted interviews. Business magazines wanted cover stories. Her lawyer, a sharp woman named Kenzie Volt, sat across from her, grinning like a cat with cream. You're viral, Kenzie said. Every social media platform is talking about you. They're calling you the Queen of Revenge. Raina didn't smile. I don't want fame. I want peace. Well, you're getting both. Kenzie slid a tablet across the desk. Colton's already hired 3 lawyers. His family's threatening to sue for wrongful termination. Let them try. Raina's voice was flat. I have documentation of every policy violation, every harassment complaint, every expense report they falsified. They won't win. Kenzie leaned back. What about Colton himself? He's been calling. Texting. Showed up at the building twice already. Security escorted him out both times. Raina's jaw tightened. Block him. Everywhere. Already done. Kenzie paused. There's something else. What? Sloane River filed a defamation suit. Claims you ruined her reputation without cause. Raina laughed, sharp, bitter. Without cause? I have security footage of her in Colton's office. On his desk. During work hours. Send it to her lawyer. See if she wants to proceed. Kenzie's grin widened. You're terrifying. I love it. Across town, in a cramped motel room that smelled like mildew and regret, Colton stared at his phone. 43 missed calls to Raina. 17 texts. All unanswered. His mother sat on the sagging bed, mascara smeared, still wearing last night's dress. "This is your fault," Beverly hissed. "You had to humiliate her in public. You couldn't just keep quiet." "How was I supposed to know?" Colton shouted. "She was a nobody. A janitor." "She was never a janitor, you idiot." Tenley paced the room, phone in hand. "I've been reading articles all morning. She built that company into what it is. Every major deal, every acquisition, it was her. And you dumped dirty water on her head." Quillen sat in the corner, head in his hands. "I had a lake house deposit. A boat on order. Now I can't even afford gas." Dax said nothing. He just stared at the wall, broken. Sloane was gone. She'd left Colton the moment the news broke, texting him a single message: "You're pathetic. Lose my number." Colton felt something he'd never felt before, actual fear. "We need to fix this," he said. "We go to her. We apologize. We—" "She won't see you," Beverly interrupted. "I tried. Security has our photos flagged. We're banned from the building." Silence filled the room. Then Tenley spoke, voice cold. "There's one person she might listen to." Everyone turned to her. "Who?" Colton asked. Tenley's smile was ugly. "Her mother." Raina's mother, Posey Fairchild, lived in a modest townhouse in Stamford, ironic, considering she'd turned down millions when Dominic died. She'd wanted nothing to do with the company, the money, the spotlight. She tended her garden, read mystery novels, and visited Raina once a month for tea. When Colton showed up at her door, unshaven and desperate, Posey didn't let him in. "She's my wife," Colton pleaded through the screen door. "I made mistakes, but I love her. I need your help." Posey's face was stone. "You made mistakes? That's what you're calling it?" Yes. I was stupid. I didn't appreciate her. But I can change." Posey stepped outside, closing the door behind her. She was smaller than Raina, but her presence felt huge. "Let me tell you something about my daughter. When she was 12, her father brought her to Grandstone's headquarters. Showed her the business. Taught her everything. And you know what she said?" Colton shook his head. "She said, 'Daddy, what if people only like me because of this?' And he told her, 'Then you'll find out who really sees you.'" Posey's voice cracked. "She spent 3 years letting you see her. And you spit in her face." "I know. You don't know anything." Posey's eyes blazed. "You humiliated her in front of hundreds of people. You paraded your mistress around like a trophy. You let your family treat her like garbage. And now you want me to fix it?" Colton's voice broke. "I'll do anything. Then leave her alone." Posey turned back toward her door. "That's the only thing you can do for her now." The door closed. Colton stood there, staring at the wood, feeling the last piece of hope die inside him. Back at Grandstone, Raina called an all-staff meeting. 3,000 employees packed into the auditorium. Cameras streamed it live for remote workers. The energy was electric, nervous, excited, curious. Raina walked onto the stage in a navy suit, hair down for the first time in years, confidence radiating from her like heat. "Good morning," she said, and the room went silent. "I know you have questions. So let me answer them." She clicked a remote. The screen behind her lit up with a photo of her father. Dominic Fairchild built this company on 3 principles: innovation, integrity, and respect. When he passed, he trusted me to carry that forward. Not because I was his daughter, but because I proved I could. Applause rippled through the crowd. For 3 years, I worked behind the scenes. I signed off on your promotions. Your bonuses. Your projects. I did it quietly because I wanted to earn this role, not inherit it by name alone. She paused, scanning the faces. But I also learned something during those 3 years. I learned that some people in this company abused their power. Falsified reports. Harassed coworkers. Ignored complaints. The room tensed. Effective today, we're implementing new policies. A third-party ethics hotline. Mandatory training on workplace conduct. And zero tolerance for discrimination or abuse of any kind. Cheers erupted. Grandstone will continue to grow. But it will grow with integrity. With respect. With people who see each other, not just positions or paychecks. The applause was deafening. Harland Cross stood off to the side, nodding with approval. Beside him, Kenzie whispered, "You created a legend." Raina stepped off the stage, and employees swarmed her, shaking her hand, thanking her, some even crying. For the first time in 3 years, Raina felt seen. Not as someone's wife. Not as someone's burden. As herself. 2 weeks later, Colton's lawyers filed. Ryder versus Fairchild, wrongful termination, emotional distress, defamation. They wanted $20 million. The case made headlines. Legal analysts debated it on cable news. Social media exploded with opinions. But Raina wasn't worried. She had Kenzie. In the courtroom, Kenzie shredded them. She presented evidence of Colton's affair, emails, photos, witness testimony from coworkers who'd seen him and Sloan together. She showed expense reports where he'd used company funds for personal trips. She played security footage of Beverly berating junior staff. She exposed Quillen's falsified sales numbers. Colton's lawyers tried to fight back, but there was nothing to fight with. The judge didn't even deliberate long. "Case dismissed," he said. With prejudice. "Mr. Ryder, you're lucky Miss Fairchild isn't countersuing." In the hallway outside the courtroom, Colton grabbed Raina's arm. "Please," he whispered. "Just talk to me." Raina looked at his hand on her arm, the same hand that had held the bucket that night, and pulled away. "I have nothing to say to you. I loved you." She turned, eyes cold. "No, you didn't. You loved what I gave you. There's a difference." And she walked away. 6 months later, Raina stood on the rooftop terrace of Grandstone's newest property, a 30-story mixed-use building in downtown Hartford. The grand opening was tonight. Press lined the streets below. Investors mingled inside. She felt a presence beside her. "Quite a view," said a voice. She turned. The man was tall, mid-30s, dark hair graying at the temples. He wore a simple suit and a genuine smile. "Darian Moss," he said, extending his hand. "I'm with Crest Financial. We're interested in partnering on your Boston project." Raina shook his hand. "You do your homework fast. Only when something's worth it." His eyes held hers, not with arrogance, but curiosity. "I read about you. What you did. I have to say, I'm impressed." "Don't be," Raina said. "I just stopped letting people underestimate me." Darian laughed, warm, real. "Well, for what it's worth, I see you just fine." Something stirred in Raina's chest. Something she thought had died. "Would you like to grab coffee sometime?" he asked. "No business. Just coffee." Raina hesitated. Then smiled. "I'd like that." Colton never recovered. He bounced between jobs, sales gigs that fired him for poor performance, temp work that barely paid rent. His family scattered. Beverly moved in with her sister in Ohio. Tenley took a job in retail. Quillen and Jet left the state entirely. Sloan married a lawyer and never spoke Colton's name again. And Colton? He ended up in a studio apartment in a bad part of Bridgeport, drinking too much, scrolling through old photos of Raina on his phone. One night, drunk and desperate, he tried one last time. He sent her a single text, "I'm sorry. I miss who I was with you." Raina read it. Deleted it. And went to dinner with Darian. Raina never forgot what Colton did. But she didn't let it define her either. She built Grandstone into a billion-dollar empire. She funded scholarships for women in business. She spoke, and she never, ever, let anyone make her feel small again. Because here's the truth, one that Colton learned too late. You can underestimate someone for only so long before they stop letting you. Raina stood at the altar in a small ceremony overlooking the ocean in Nantucket. 50 people. Simple. Intimate. Darian held her hands, eyes full of something Colton never gave her, respect. You ready? He whispered. She smiled. I've been ready my whole life. And as they said their vows, Raina felt something she thought she'd lost forever. Peace. Not because she'd won. But because she'd finally, completely, chosen herself. So, what did you think? The narrator asks. Did Raina get the ending she deserved? Or should she have made Colton suffer more? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story taught you anything about never underestimating people, hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because in a world full of Coltons, be a Raina. See you in the next one. The end.